Did you know there are wizards so powerful in the magical world that they were specially trained to hunt down the most dangerous dark wizards in history? We're talking about the Aurors, the elite of magical combat. Warriors who came face to face with Voldemort, Grindelwald, and their most lethal followers. Today, we're going to reveal the 9 most powerful Aurors who ever existed, from those you know to names that will completely surprise you. And I can guarantee number 1 on this list has such impressive feats that you'll wonder why he isn't talked about more in the films. Get ready, because this journey through the Auror department will completely change your view of who really protected the wizarding world. But before we begin, I need your support. Click the subscribe button, activate the bell so you don't miss any content about the wizarding world, and tell me here in the comments, what city are you watching this video from? Let's find out where the true Harry Potter fans are scattered around the world. And now, yes, let's dive into the world of the most powerful Aurors in history. To understand the magnitude of what we're going to discuss today, we first need to comprehend what it really means to be an Auror. We're not talking about common wizards or even talented Hogwarts professors. Aurors are specialized agents of the Ministry of Magic, trained specifically to investigate and capture dark wizards. The training to become an Auror is brutally rigorous, lasting 3 full years after completing Hogwarts, and requires exceptional grades on the OWL. The exams taken in the 5th year. We're talking about at least 5 OWLs, with grades of exceeds expectations or outstanding in subjects like defense against the dark arts, transfiguration, charms, potions, and herbology. But grades are just the beginning. During training, Auror candidates go through extreme physical and mental tests, learn advanced magical combat techniques, study disguises, master the tracking of dark wizards, and are subjected to simulated field situations that test not only their magical abilities, but their courage, intelligence, and ability to make decisions under mortal pressure. Many give up. Few manage to complete the training. And among these few, only some rare individuals become living legends. Now that you understand the context, let's begin our countdown of the 9 most powerful Aurors, starting at number 9 and climbing until we reach the most formidable warrior who ever wore an Auror's robes. 9th place, John Dawlish. We begin our list with a name that may surprise some fans, John Dawlish. You might be thinking, wait, isn't Dawlish that Auror who was defeated several times in the saga? And yes, you're absolutely right. But here's the crucial detail that many ignore. The simple fact that Dawlish was defeated by some of the most powerful wizards of his generation doesn't diminish the fact that he was extraordinarily talented. Dawlish was considered an exceptional Auror by the Ministry of Magic itself. Rufus Scrimgeour, who we'll soon see on this list, personally praised Dawlish's abilities. To put it in perspective, Dawlish was repeatedly chosen for missions of the highest importance and sensitivity. He was assigned to escort the Minister of Magic, to capture Dumbledore when he was falsely accused, and to guard Hogwarts during one of the most dangerous periods in the recent history of the wizarding world. Dawlish's problem wasn't lack of ability. It was simply the bad luck of constantly facing opponents on a completely different level. When he went to Hogwarts to arrest Dumbledore, he faced not only the most powerful wizard in the world, but also Minerva McGonagall, herself a formidably powerful witch. It took 5 simultaneous stunning spells to bring down McGonagall on that occasion, and Dawlish was there in the middle of that battle. During the Battle of the 7 Potters, Dawlish was subdued by an extremely powerful Confundus charm that left him confused for weeks. But consider this. He was under the imperious curse from Death Eaters and still continued operating. Later, when finally free from control, he tried to confront Augusta Longbottom, Neville's grandmother, and was defeated by her, along with another Auror. But Augusta Longbottom was an experienced witch from one of the oldest and most respected families in the wizarding world, someone who had trained in an earlier era and possessed decades of experience. What puts Dawlish on our list isn't his victories, but the fact that he was consistently chosen by the Ministry for the most difficult and dangerous tasks. You don't put a mediocre aura to capture Albus Dumbledore. You don't assign just anyone to protect the Minister of Magic. Dawlish represents the standard of excellence that an aura needs to reach just to enter the field. He's our baseline, our starting point, and each name that comes after him raises even higher the level of power and skill we're discussing. 8th place, Tina Goldstein. Moving up to 8th position, we come to Porpentina Goldstein, known as Tina, an American aura whose story is fascinating and often underestimated by fans who only watched the Fantastic Beasts films. Tina Goldstein wasn't just a competent aura. She was a brilliant investigator and a capable duelist who operated during one of the most dangerous periods in the history of the Magical Congress of the United States of America, MACUSA. Tina graduated from the Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and quickly ascended through the ranks of MACUSA, becoming an aura at a time when tension between the magical and non-magical world in the United States was extremely high. Rappaport's law, which prohibited any fraternization between wizards and nomads, was in full force, and MACUSA was notoriously more severe and paranoid than the British Ministry of Magic. What makes Tina truly notable is her moral integrity combined with her practical abilities. In 1926, when she encountered Newt Scamander in New York, she had already been demoted from Auror to an administrative position, not due to incompetence, but because she had assaulted a no-mage who was abusing his adopted daughters, wizard children. Tina saw injustice and acted, even knowing it would cost her career. This demonstrates not only courage, but the kind of incorruptible character that defines the best auras. During the events of 1926, Tina demonstrated exceptional investigative skills, being the first to suspect that something was fundamentally wrong with Percival Graves, the Director of Magical Security at MACUSA. She tracked Newt across the city, identified the connection between the escaped magical creatures and the strange incidents terrorizing New York, and was present during the confrontation with the Obscurus hosted by Credence Barebone. Tina also survived a death sentence at MACUSA. When she and Newt were captured, they were taken to be executed by means of a death potion, a particularly cruel form of execution used by MACUSA. Tina maintained her composure even in the face of imminent death, which speaks volumes about her mental strength. She and Newt escaped, but the fact that she was targeted for summary execution shows how seriously MACUSA considered her a threat when they believed she had violated their laws. After the events of 1926, when Graves was revealed as Grindelwald in disguise, Tina was reinstated as an aura, and not just reinstated, but promoted. During the following years, she became one of MACUSA's leading auras, actively working in the hunt for Grindelwald and his followers. In 1927, she was in Paris tracking Credence Barebone, demonstrating that her investigative skills were valued internationally. What puts Tina in 8th place is her combination of competent combat abilities, excellent investigative instincts, and crucially, her experience in facing and surviving encounters with Gellert Grindelwald, albeit indirectly. She also represents the tradition of American auras, who were trained differently and operated under a much more restrictive set of laws than their British colleagues. Tina Goldstein is a bridge between two continents of magical law enforcement and a proven fighter for the cause against darkness. 7th place, Nymphadora Tonks. Reaching 7th place, we find one of the most beloved characters in the saga, Nymphadora Tonks, the young metamorph magus Auror whose vibrant personality hid an absolutely fierce fighter. Tonks is often remembered for her humor, her clumsy nature, and her tragic romance with Remus Lupin, but this overshadows the fact that she was an exceptionally talented aura who fought in some of the most important battles against Voldemort. Tonks became an Auror just 1 year before Harry Potter arrived at Grindelwald Place in 1995, which means she completed her rigorous 3-year training in record time and was accepted into the program based on extraordinary merits. She was trained by Alastor Moody, who was notoriously demanding and didn't tolerate incompetence. The fact that Moody approved of Tonks and even showed affection for her as his pupil speaks volumes about her capabilities. Her natural ability as a metamorph magus gave her unique advantages in fieldwork. She could alter her appearance at will without the need for polyjuice potion, making her ideal for surveillance and infiltration missions. But Tonks wasn't just tricks. She was a competent duelist. During the Battle of the Department of Mysteries in 1996, Tonks fought alongside other members of the Order of the Phoenix against Death Eaters, including Bellatrix Lestrange. Although she was brought down by Bellatrix in that confrontation, the simple fact that she survived an encounter with one of the most dangerous dark witches of all time is proof of her abilities. Tonks also participated in the crucial mission to escort Harry Potter during the Battle of the Seven Potters in 1997. She was mounted on a broomstick, protecting one of the fake Harry Potters while being chased by Death Eaters through the skies. This was one of the most dangerous operations of the Second Wizarding War, and Tonks was there in the middle of the action, casting spells while maneuvering at high speed. During the 1997 to 1998 school year, when Voldemort controlled the Ministry of Magic and Severus Snape was headmaster of Hogwarts, Tonks was pregnant, but still continued working with the Order of the Phoenix. She participated in the defense of Hogwarts against the Death Eaters led by Snape, showing that not even pregnancy diminished her dedication to the cause. And then we come to the Battle of Hogwarts, the final confrontation between Voldemort's forces and the defenders of the wizarding world. Tonks fought bravely in that battle, even having just given birth to her son, Teddy Lupin. She didn't need to be there. She had every reason in the world to stay home, protecting her baby. But Tonks was an Auror to the core, and she knew that Hogwarts was where she needed to be. Tragically, she was killed during the battle, probably by her own aunt, Bellatrix Lestrange, although the exact details of her death were never fully revealed. What puts Tonks in 7th place isn't just her magical abilities or her advantages as a metamorph magus, but her unwavering courage and her final sacrifice. She represents the younger generation of Aurors who grew up in the shadow of the First Wizarding War and rose up to fight in the Second, knowing exactly what the risks were. Tonks gave everything, including her life, for the cause of freedom in the magical world. 6th place, Rufus Scrimgeour. In 6th position, we come to a man whose mere presence commanded respect and whose name was still pronounced with reverence even years after his death, Rufus Scrimgeour. Scrimgeour wasn't just an Auror. He was the head of the Auror office before becoming Minister of Magic, and his reputation as a relentless hunter of dark wizards was legendary. Rufus Scrimgeour was described as having a leonine appearance, with a mane of tawny grey, dishevelled hair and thick eyebrows, shrewd, yellowish eyes, and a certain air of stiff movement, the result of injuries obtained during his long career as an Auror. These scars and this stiffness weren't signs of weakness, but medals of honor, physical evidence of decades spent on the front lines against the forces of darkness. As head of the Auror office, Scrimgeour was responsible for all operations to combat dark wizards in Great Britain. He commanded all the Aurors, planned operations, approved missions, and often personally led the most dangerous raids. During the First Wizarding War against Voldemort, Scrimgeour was there, hunting Death Eaters, saving lives, and fighting in battles that were never fully documented, but that left their marks on his body. When Cornelius Fudge was forced to resign as Minister of Magic in 1996, after finally admitting that Voldemort had returned, it was Scrimgeour who was chosen to assume the position. And note well, he didn't seek the position. He was chosen precisely because the wizarding world needed a war leader, someone with real experience in combating darkness. Scrimgeour was seen as a man of action, someone who wouldn't sit in his office while Voldemort gained power. As minister, Scrimgeour implemented more aggressive policies against the Death Eaters, increased the number of Aurors in training, and tried desperately to strengthen the wizarding world's defenses. He also tried, albeit in a politically motivated way, to establish a connection with Harry Potter, recognizing that Harry was a symbol of resistance against Voldemort. Although Harry rejected his proposals, the very fact that Scrimgeour sought this alliance shows his strategic understanding of the situation. But it was in Scrimgeour's death that his true strength of character was revealed. In 1997, when Voldemort finally staged his coup and took control of the Ministry of Magic, Scrimgeour was captured, tortured, and murdered. The Death Eaters wanted to know where Harry Potter was hiding. They tortured Scrimgeour, an old and injured man, but he revealed nothing. Even under the worst imaginable tortures, even knowing his death was certain, Rufus Scrimgeour remained silent and died protecting Harry Potter. Harry, upon learning of Scrimgeour's death and his refusal to reveal information even under torture, finally gained respect for the man he had previously despised. Scrimgeour may not have been a perfect politician, but he was a true warrior and an Auror until his last breath. What puts Scrimgeour in 6th place is his combination of decades of combat experience, his leadership position over all the Aurors in Great Britain, and his final sacrifice. He represents the veteran Auror, the warrior hardened by countless battles, someone who knew the cost of fighting against darkness because he himself had paid that price in his own flesh. 5th place, Alastor Moody. And now we come to one of the most iconic names in Auror history, a man whose very appearance tells the story of a lifetime of war against darkness, Alastor Mad-Eye Moody. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you know Moody, or at least you think you do. But the truth is that the real Moody is even more impressive and terrifying than most people imagine. Alastor Moody was, without a shadow of doubt, the most famous Auror of his generation and possibly of all time. He dedicated his entire life to hunting and capturing dark wizards, and the price he paid is etched in his body. Moody lost a leg, which was replaced by a wooden leg with a clawed foot. He lost a substantial piece of his nose, and most famously, he lost an eye, which was replaced by his electric blue magical eye, capable of seeing through solid objects, invisibility cloaks, and even the back of his own head. But these mutilations didn't diminish Moody. They only made him more formidable, more paranoid, more prepared. He developed the mantra, constant vigilance, which became his trademark. He didn't trust anyone completely, checked his food and drink obsessively, and always expected an attack. And it wasn't unfounded paranoia. He had plenty of reasons to be suspicious, considering how many times dark wizards had tried to kill him. During the First Wizarding War, Moody was the terror of the Death Eaters. He personally filled half the cells in Azkaban with dark wizards he captured. Half. Think about the magnitude of that. Dozens, possibly hundreds of captures, each representing a battle, a duel, a complex investigation. Moody didn't kill his enemies if he could avoid it, despite having received authorization from the Ministry to use lethal force. He preferred to capture them alive, bring them to justice, even if it meant putting himself in greater danger. Moody was so good at his job that even Albus Dumbledore recruited him for the original Order of the Phoenix. Dumbledore, the most powerful wizard in the world, wanted Moody by his side, and Moody was there, fighting in the shadows, protecting the wizarding world from threats that most people would never know existed. But here's a crucial detail that many fans forget. During almost all of Harry's first encounter with Moody in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, it wasn't the real Moody. It was Barty Crouch Jr., disguised using Polyjuice Potion. The real Moody spent almost an entire year trapped in his own magical trunk, being drained of hair to maintain Crouch's disguise. The fact that even imprisoned, without his wand, in a state of extreme weakness, Moody survived nearly a year of captivity demonstrates his extraordinary resilience. When finally freed, Moody was weak and disoriented, but he recovered. And when Dumbledore reformed the Order of the Phoenix, Moody was there again, one of the most senior and respected members. He led the mission to take Harry from the Dursleys in 1995, using all his knowledge and experience to keep the boy safe. During the Battle of the Seven Potters in 1997, it was Moody who planned the complex operation of creating 7 Harry Potters using Polyjuice Potion, a desperate attempt to confuse the Death Eaters. And it was during this battle that Moody finally fell. He was protecting Mundungus Fletcher, one of the fake Harrys, when Voldemort himself appeared. Mundungus, a coward, disapparated immediately, leaving Moody alone to face the Dark Lord. Moody had no chance against Voldemort face to face. No one did. But he didn't run. He fought. And he was hit by Voldemort's killing curse, falling from his broomstick thousands of feet above the ground. His body was never recovered. Moody's death was a devastating blow to the Order of the Phoenix. He wasn't just a skilled fighter, he was a symbol, a living legend. His experience, his knowledge, his justified paranoia, all of it was lost when he fell. What puts Moody in 5th place is his long and illustrious career. His countless captures of dark wizards, his survival of dangers that would have killed lesser wizards dozens of times, and his training of a new generation of Aurors, including Nymphadora Tonks. Moody represents the archetype of the perfect Auror, paranoid, prepared, relentless, and incorruptible. 4th place, Harry Potter. And now we come to a choice that may surprise some of you, but which is absolutely justified when we examine the facts. Harry James Potter in 4th place. Yes, the protagonist of our saga, the boy who lived, the chosen one. But we're placing Harry on this list not out of sentimentality or because he's the main character, but because his achievements and abilities as an Auror, both during his youth and in his later career, are genuinely exceptional. Let's start with an important fact. Harry Potter not only became an Auror, he eventually became the head of the Auror office, the same position that Rufus Scrimgeour held. But unlike Scrimgeour, who reached that position after decades of service, Harry got there being significantly younger, a testament to his extraordinary abilities. But let's go back a bit and examine why Harry deserves to be on this list. First, consider his achievements during his adolescence, before even officially becoming an Auror. At just 11 years old, Harry faced a partially restored Voldemort and prevented him from stealing the Philosopher's Stone. At 12 years old, he killed a 1,000-year-old basilisk using the Sword of Gryffindor and destroyed the first Horcrux, Tom Riddle's diary. At 13 years old, he produced a powerful corporeal Patronus strong enough to repel more than 100 Dementors simultaneously, a feat that experienced adult wizards couldn't accomplish. At 14 years old, Harry survived the Triwizard Tournament, faced a dragon, rescued hostages from the bottom of the Black Lake, navigated through a maze full of dangerous creatures, and most impressively, dueled with Voldemort face-to-face in the graveyard at Little Hangleton. He didn't defeat Voldemort in that duel, but he survived and caused the Priori Incantatem effect, forcing the Twin Wands to reveal their previous spells. Few adult wizards would have survived that encounter. At 15 years old, Harry formed and led Dumbledore's army, teaching defense against the dark arts to dozens of students, many of whom were older than him. He taught complex spells, including the corporeal Patronus, and his students became capable fighters who fought in the Battle of the Department of Mysteries. In that battle, Harry faced multiple Death Eaters, including Lucius Malfoy and Antonin Dolohov, and survived until the Order of the Phoenix arrived. At 16 years old, during his private lessons with Dumbledore, Harry developed a deep understanding of Voldemort, his Horcruxes, and his history. He was also developing his dueling skills and learning advanced magic, and at 17 years old, Harry led the hunt for the Horcruxes, a mission that required not only courage and magical skill, but intelligence, strategy, and a deep understanding of dark magic. During the Horcrux hunt, Harry invaded the Ministry of Magic controlled by Death Eaters, stole a Horcrux from Dolores Umbridge under the noses of dozens of dark wizards, escaped from Nagini in Godric's Hollow, invaded Gringotts riding a dragon, and finally returned to Hogwarts for the final battle. And in that battle, Harry Potter did what no one else could do. He destroyed Voldemort once and for all. But here's what really puts Harry on this list: his unique ability to understand and combat dark magic without being corrupted by it. Harry carried a piece of Voldemort's soul inside him for 17 years. He had a mental connection with the most powerful dark wizard in history. He could have been corrupted, could have been transformed into something else. But he remained pure. He chose good repeatedly, even when it would have been easier to choose power. After the war, Harry was invited to skip Auror training and enter directly into the Auror office due to his extraordinary contributions. Although some details of his career as an Auror aren't fully known, we know that he eventually became head of the Auror office and worked to reform and improve the department, bringing a new perspective based on his unique experiences. Harry is also notable for his skill with the Patronus. His stag-shaped Patronus is incredibly powerful, capable of repelling hundreds of Dementors. The Patronus is considered one of the most difficult and advanced spells, and Harry's ability to produce it so young and so powerfully is a testament to his magical strength and, crucially, the purity of his soul and feelings. What puts Harry in fourth place isn't just his achievements during the war, but the fact that he faced and survived encounters with Voldemort more times than any other wizard in history. He has an understanding of dark magic that few Aurors would ever achieve, not because he practiced it, but because he fought it in its purest and most dangerous forms. Harry Potter represents the next generation of Aurors, those who fought in the darkest war and came out the other side still committed to the light. Third place, Percival Graves. Reaching third place, we enter more obscure and complex territory with Percival Graves, the Director of Magical Security at MACUSA. Now here we need to make a crucial distinction. We're talking about the real Percival Graves, not Gellert Grindelwald in disguise. And this is important because, although we never extensively saw the real Graves in action, the simple fact that Grindelwald chose to disguise himself as him for months tells us everything we need to know about how powerful and respected Graves was. Percival Graves was the Director of Magical Security, a position equivalent to being the head of the Auror office at the British Ministry of Magic, but with even more authority and responsibility. MACUSA, as we established earlier, was significantly more severe and controlling than the British Ministry, and the position of Director of Magical Security was one of the most powerful in the entire American magical government. To reach this position, Graves would have needed to demonstrate not only exceptional magical abilities, but also leadership, impeccable judgment, and years of distinguished service. He commanded all of MACUSA's Aurors, oversaw all magical security operations throughout American territory, and was responsible for maintaining the International Statute of Secrecy, especially crucial in the United States, where tensions between magical and non-magical people were particularly high. The fact that Gellert Grindelwald, one of the most powerful and intelligent dark wizards of all time, chose to assume Graves's identity is extremely revealing. Grindelwald wouldn't choose to disguise himself as someone whose position and abilities he couldn't convincingly replicate. He needed immediate access, power, and respect within MACUSA, and Graves provided all of that. Even more impressive is the fact that Grindelwald maintained the disguise for months without being discovered, fooling even the most experienced and paranoid wizards at Macusa. This means Grindelwald had to study Graves extensively, learn his mannerisms, his abilities, his combat style, and to do this, Grindelwald would have needed to subdue and capture the real Graves, which in itself is a feat that demonstrates how powerful Graves must have been, as Grindelwald certainly wouldn't waste time with easy targets. When Graves dueled with Newt Scamander and Tina Goldstein in the New York subway, demonstrating extraordinary combat abilities, many of these moves and techniques were probably based on Graves's true abilities. Grindelwald was playing a role, and for that role to be convincing, he had to base it on Graves's actual capabilities. The Graves family was one of the first families of witches and wizards in the United States, part of the sacred families that dated back to the first wizard settlers. This means Percival grew up in a tradition of ancient and powerful magic, with access to knowledge and techniques that many American wizarding families didn't possess. The true fate of Percival Graves, after being freed from Grindelwald's captivity, was never fully revealed. But we can presume that, having survived months as a prisoner of one of the most dangerous wizards in history, he eventually returned to some form of service, although the shame of having been replaced and no one noticing must have been devastating. What puts Graves in third place is the combination of his position of extreme power and responsibility at Macusa. The fact that Grindelwald considered him valuable enough to assume his identity, and his lineage as a member of one of the oldest and most powerful wizarding families in America. Graves represents the pinnacle of what an American aura could achieve in terms of power, position, and respect. Second place, Theseus Scamander. And now, in second position, we come to a name that many casual fans may not immediately recognize, but that those who followed the Fantastic Beasts series know well. Theseus Scamander, Newt Scamander's older brother, and one of the most powerful and decorated Aurors of his generation. Theseus Scamander was the head of Aurors at the British Ministry of Magic, a position that, as we've already established, is one of the most prestigious and demanding in the wizarding world. But what makes Theseus truly exceptional isn't just his position, but his achievements during the First World War and his subsequent leadership in the hunt for Gellert Grindelwald. Theseus was a war hero. During the First World War, he served actively, fighting not only against dark wizards, but also dealing with the complex intersections between the non-magical conflict and its magical repercussions. He was decorated for bravery, receiving honors both from the wizarding world and, in a veiled way, recognition for his actions that impacted the non-magical world. Theseus was on the front lines during some of the darkest years of the 20th century, facing dangers that few wizards of his generation experienced. His reputation as an aura was impeccable. He was known for his leadership, his strategic ability, and his formidable dueling capabilities. When Gellert Grindelwald began his rise to power in the 1920s, it was Theseus who was put in command of the international operation to capture him. This wasn't a decision taken lightly. The British Ministry of Magic was essentially betting its international reputation on Theseus's ability to hunt down and capture one of the most dangerous wizards of all time. During the events of 1927 in Paris, Theseus demonstrated his abilities repeatedly. He led teams of Aurors in complex operations, coordinated with French magical authorities, and demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of both magical combat and international politics. When he confronted Grindelwald and his followers at Père Lachaise Cemetery, Theseus fought bravely, demonstrating advanced dueling techniques and leadership under extreme pressure. Theseus also survived Grindelwald's fiendfire attack at the cemetery, one of the most dangerous and uncontrollable spells that exists. Fiendfire is cursed magical fire that consumes everything in its path and is extremely difficult to control or extinguish. The fact that Theseus survived this attack, while many other Aurors and Ministry members perished, demonstrates not only his abilities, but also his presence of mind in life-or-death situations. An often overlooked aspect of Theseus is his emotional and diplomatic intelligence. Unlike many Aurors who were purely fighters, Theseus understood politics, diplomacy, and the need to build alliances. He worked with magical authorities from multiple nations, navigated complex political waters, and maintained professional relationships even with those he disagreed with, including, on certain occasions, his own brother Newt, with whom he had a complicated relationship. Theseus was also known for his sense of honor and justice. He wasn't just a blind follower of orders. He had his own moral principles and was willing to question authority when necessary. When he realized the ministry was making decisions he considered questionable regarding Grindelwald, Theseus didn't hesitate to express his concerns, even if it put his position at risk. His relationship with Leta Lestrange, his fiancée who sacrificed her life to allow others to escape from Grindelwald, also reveals the depth of his character. Theseus loved deeply, and his loss of Leta affected him profoundly, but didn't break him. He continued fighting, continued leading, transforming his pain into renewed determination to defeat Grindelwald. What puts Theseus in second place is his unmatched combination of elite combat skills, real war experience, international-level leadership over Auror operations, and his crucial contributions to the fight against Gellert Grindelwald. Theseus represents the complete Auror, warrior, leader, strategist, and fundamentally a man of principles who fought for the right causes for the right reasons. First place, Kingsley Shacklebolt, and finally, we arrive at first place, the most powerful and impressive Auror of the entire Harry Potter saga, Kingsley Shacklebolt. If this name surprises you, get ready, because when you fully understand the achievements and abilities of this extraordinary man, you'll realize there's no one more deserving of this position. Kingsley Shacklebolt wasn't just an exceptional Auror. He was a master of multiple disciplines who eventually became Minister of Magic, but unlike politicians like Cornelius Fudge, Kingsley achieved that position through pure merit, courage, and ability, not political ambition. Let's systematically unpack why Kingsley is at the top of this list. First, let's talk about his abilities as a pure Auror. Kingsley was a senior member of the Auror office during the Second Wizarding War, one of the most experienced and reliable Aurors in active service. He was known for his relentless efficiency, his calm under pressure, and his formidable dueling abilities. When Dumbledore formed the Order of the Phoenix, Kingsley was one of the first to join, recognized by Dumbledore as someone absolutely essential to the cause. But here's where Kingsley really stands out. He was a perfect double agent. While working as an Auror for the Ministry of Magic, Kingsley simultaneously served the Order of the Phoenix, passing crucial information, sabotaging Ministry operations that would harm the cause against Voldemort, and maintaining his cover impeccably for years. Do you understand how extraordinarily difficult this is? Kingsley was working inside the Ministry, surrounded by other Aurors, some of whom were loyal to Voldemort or simply blindly following orders, and he kept his true loyalty in absolute secrecy. In 1995, Kingsley was officially assigned to lead the hunt for Sirius Black, who had escaped from Azkaban. But Kingsley knew Sirius was innocent. So what did he do? He deliberately directed the investigation away from Sirius, sending the Ministry on useless chases, all while appearing to be doing his job with exemplary dedication. He was literally sabotaging a high-profile Ministry investigation under his superiors' noses, and no one suspected anything. Kingsley was also assigned to protect the British Muggle Prime Minister. Think about that. The Ministry of Magic entrusted Kingsley with the security of the leader of the non-magical government during a period of extreme turbulence. This isn't a task you give to any aura. This is something you give only to the best of the best. And Kingsley executed this task perfectly, protecting the Prime Minister while simultaneously working for the Order of the Phoenix. During the Battle of the Seven Potters in 1997, Kingsley was there, protecting Hermione Granger disguised as Harry Potter. He fought against multiple Death Eaters in full flight, casting spells while maneuvering on a broomstick at high speed in the dark. And he didn't just survive, he ensured Hermione arrived safely. When Voldemort finally took control of the Ministry in 1997, Kingsley was one of the few Aurors who didn't bow to the new regime. He went underground, continued fighting, and used his network of contacts and his knowledge of the Ministry to help the resistance. Kingsley was wanted as a criminal, but continued operating, helping Order members, protecting targets, and causing problems for the Death Eaters whenever possible. Kingsley was also instrumental in protecting Ron Weasley's family. When Arthur Weasley was attacked by Nagini in the Department of Mysteries, it was Kingsley who helped ensure he received medical treatment quickly. During the wedding of Bill Weasley and Fleur Delacour, when Death Eaters attacked, it was Kingsley who sent his Patronus to warn the guests, saving countless lives. Oh yes, let's talk about Kingsley's Patronus. His Patronus took the form of a lynx, a powerful and agile predator. The ability to produce a corporeal Patronus is already impressive, but Kingsley's Patronus was particularly powerful and controlled. He could use it not only to repel Dementors, but also for communication, transmitting complex messages through his Patronus, an advanced application of magic that few wizards master. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Kingsley was there from the beginning, one of the first to arrive when the attack began. He fought alongside Hogwarts professors and Order members, facing waves of Death Eaters. His contribution was so significant that, after the battle and Voldemort's defeat, it was Kingsley who was chosen to become interim Minister of Magic and subsequently confirmed as permanent minister. As Minister of Magic, Kingsley began the process of rebuilding the British wizarding world. He reformed the ministry, removed unjust laws such as those targeting Muggle-borns, improved relations with other magical communities like werewolves and goblins, and worked to ensure the horrors of Voldemort's regime would never be repeated. Kingsley brought honesty, integrity and competence to a position that had been tainted by years of corruption and incompetence. But here's what really puts Kingsley in first place. Above all others on this list, his versatility and competence in absolutely all aspects of what it means to be an Auror. He was an elite duelist, capable of facing multiple adversaries. He was a brilliant investigator, capable of leading complex investigations. He was a master of disguise and subterfuge, operating as a double agent for years. He was a natural leader, capable of commanding respect and loyalty. He was politically astute, capable of navigating the complexities of the Ministry of Magic, and fundamentally he was incorruptible, maintaining his principles and values even when it would have been easier and safer to yield. Kingsley Shacklebolt never lost a duel that we saw on screen or read about in the books. He never failed in a critical mission. He was never captured, never corrupted, never yielded. He represents the absolute ideal of what an Auror should be: powerful, intelligent, brave, loyal, and fundamentally dedicated to the greater good. Other Aurors on this list may have been more famous, like Moody, or faced more powerful adversaries in single duels, like Harry facing Voldemort, but no one, absolutely no one, combined all the qualities necessary to be the perfect Auror like Kingsley Shacklebolt. He wasn't just a warrior, he was a spy, a leader, a reformer, and a symbol of everything that was right in the wizarding world. And perhaps most impressive of all is this: Kingsley did all of this with a dignity and humility that never sought the spotlight or personal glory. He simply did what needed to be done, repeatedly, without fanfare, without self-promotion, just serving the cause of justice with every fiber of his being. When the history of the wizarding world is written, when future scholars analyze the Second Wizarding War and the people who won it, Kingsley Shacklebolt will be recognized not just as a great auror, but as one of the greatest heroes of the entire saga. A man who literally saved the wizarding world, both with his wand and with his wisdom. And so we come to the end of our journey through the 9 most powerful auras in the Harry Potter universe. From John Dawlish, the competent auror who faced adversaries beyond his class, to Kingsley Shacklebolt, the perfect example of everything an auror should be, each of these warriors contributed uniquely to the protection of the wizarding world. What becomes clear when analyzing these 9 extraordinary figures is that being an auror isn't just about raw magical power. Sure, dueling skills are essential, but the truly great aurors combine power with intelligence, courage with strategy, strength with moral integrity. They aren't just fighters, they're investigators, leaders, and frequently the last line of defense between the wizarding world and the forces of darkness that constantly threaten to consume it. Some of these aurors, like Tonks and Scrimgeour, paid the ultimate price for their dedication, sacrificing their lives for the cause they believed in. Others, like Harry and Kingsley, survived to rebuild the world they helped save. But all of them share a common characteristic. When the wizarding world needed them, when darkness seemed about to win, they rose up and fought, regardless of personal cost. The tradition of the aurors continues. Even now, in the post-Voldemort wizarding world, new aurors are being trained, prepared to face the threats that will inevitably arise. Because history teaches us that darkness is never truly defeated, only kept at bay by those brave enough to confront it. And now, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with this list? Do you think any other auror should be here? Maybe you feel the order should be different. Leave your comment below. Let's have an incredible discussion about these fascinating warriors of the wizarding world. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Activate the bell to receive notifications of all our Harry Potter videos. And tell me what city you're watching from. If you like this content and want more deep analyses of the Harry Potter universe, give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow and shows me that you want more content like this. We have much more ahead. Characters, spells, locations, theories, and secrets of the wizarding world you don't know yet. Thank you for watching until the end. This shows you're a true Harry Potter fan, someone who appreciates not just the superficial story, but the deeper layers of complexity that make this universe so rich and fascinating. Until the next video, and remember, constant vigilance.